morning, everyone. Welcome back to Sun Up on 7. I hope that everybody's having a fantastic day. And if you're just starting your morning and you're just joining us on Sun Up on 7, let me just give you a quick recap of what we've covered so far on the show. Earlier, our first guest was the representative from the Ministry of Sustainable Development, talking about the environmental regulations as it comes out to the plastic phase-out regulations that are happening in the country. Let me remind you of two important dates with that. As of February 28, 2022, the seized sale of these single-use plastics are prohibited, and then by March 31st, the possession of these products are prohibited. So those are two dates that are upcoming that I want to remind you of for anybody that's a manufacturer, that's selling these products, or for us consumers as well. Have in mind these two dates. And then we were joined by the Association of Brokers of Belize, talking about what the association is about and putting a call for members to have a wide representation of persons involved in real estate in the country. So if you missed those two conversations, you can go on our YouTube channel for you to tune in, find what was the gist of the conversation, and of course, share with your network. And we're here with another very important conversation with Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Eamon Courtney, talking about what's going to be happening at the 33rd Intersessional CARICOM meeting, also S.I.C.A meeting that's happening in Ambergris next week. And of course, a conversation that a lot of Belizeans are having is this tension between Russia and Ukraine, and how does this affect Belize? So to indulge us with these topics, Minister, thank you so much for being here with us. Before we get in there, we'd just like to do a quick check-in. How are you feeling this morning?
COVID-free.
COVID-free. That is
We've never
beautiful.
had that response, and I actually like that.
That is beautiful.
You just recently
I love that.
had COVID or something? Or you just COVID-free and you feel hype about that?
As far as I'm aware, I've never had it.
Oh, see? Okay.
I've had about 5,000 tests because of all my travels, but
Oh my gosh.
so far, all
Because
have
you're an
been,
expert on the testing.
all have been negative. Well, that's not something I want to be proud about.
It's traumatizing.
I think
know.
it's time for the Minister of Health to end it.
You think so?
Yes.
Well, we know curfew is supposed to be coming off right here. We haven't got the updated SI, but slow little thing we're phasing out slowly, you know? I'm sure you're excited about that.
Well, I don't think it should be slow. I think we have reached the end. It's time to live with it. Let's go.
Okay, well,
My view.
I appreciate that because that's honesty and to be able to say that, you know what? We're living with it. So you're off with the mask? Is that you too as well or no?
No, I would say that people should be encouraged to continue to use the mask, but I don't think that people should be fined if you choose not to. Okay. If I'm in your space and I would like it and you don't want to wear it, then I leave. I think we should be left the choice at this stage. Okay. Unless, of course, we have a new variant or the numbers start to change. But I think at this point in time, the primary issue is the mortality rate is down. Yeah. The second is, of course, the hospitals are not as stressed as they were before. And in that context, and it seems to me that Omicron is certainly waning, that we need to give emphasis to freedoms and economic activity.
I like that. I really appreciate
Those
that.
are good points, yeah.
I know that's some really great points. And I know we're not here to talk about COVID, but I really appreciate that opinion too, because I don't think we've really heard that from a minister before. So appreciating that.
You're welcome.
So now we're looking at the idea of the CARICOM Intersessional, the 33rd CARICOM Intersessional. And we're having here in Belize. Woo! Big up for Belize in that sense, because I love when we're able to have these kind of meetings. It makes us, everybody gravitates towards us. And so now the idea is, what's on the agenda? What are the issues that are going to be discussed in this meeting? Because some people are just hearing the meeting and like, okay, what's the importance of this meeting? What's going to come from it?
Well, CARICOM Heads of Government meet twice per year on their calendar. There can be special meetings in addition if the circumstances warrant. The main meeting is in July, and then they have the intersessional in February.
Yeah.
So those are on their calendar unless there is an additional need for some other meeting of the heads. This one, they're very important topics, and if I can just quickly name some. For example, heads will be looking at the post-COP26, climate change as it affects the Caribbean. COP27 will be in Egypt later this year, and so starting to do an analysis of the failures of COP26 and how do we position the region for COP27. We have the whole question of COVID.
Yes.
The continued lack of access to vaccines around the region, the state of the preparedness of the region to deal with the consequences, the economic consequences, the health consequences, and to put on the international agenda the position of CARICOM insofar as the COVID, not only the actual dealing with the pandemic, but also the recovery.
Yeah.
In addition to which, there's a question of Haiti. As you know, Haiti is a member of CARICOM. Unfortunately, Haiti is suffering from a serious crisis of governance. First of all, there's no president. The current prime minister, his term, in inverted commas, came to an end on the 6th of February. And so the question is, what is the legitimacy of his continued governing? And the Caribbean community feels very strongly that Haiti is our member, and we need to engage the international community to find a Haitian-designed solution to the governance problems, and just as urgently, to the whole question of the effects of earthquakes, effects of hurricanes, because there's tremendous suffering in Haiti as well as
Most definitely.
COVID.
Yeah.
So those are three very important issues that we will be dealing with. We'll be dealing with other issues, for example, the Caribbean single market and the economy,
Okay.
the implementation of it, where we are with it. Prime Minister Mia Mottley, who chairs the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee, has written to each heads of government, identifying in each country what they have achieved and what they need to do, what they have failed to do. And she's pushing very aggressively for implementation of the measures that we should do so that we can have free movement of people, goods, and services throughout the region. There are, of course, external issues that we have to deal with: security,
Yeah.
the question of Belize, Guatemala, the question of Venezuela, Guyana. There is something that's unique to CARICOM at this moment, and that is a commission of inquiry launched by the British government in the British Virgin Islands. We will get a report from the Premier as to where that is. And CARICOM has been called upon by the administration in the British Virgin Islands to be aggressive and strong in terms of their respect for the self-governance of the British Virgin Islands, even though it remains a colony, for respect for its constitution, for, above all, respect for its government that's been duly elected by its people. So that's a delicate issue that we have to deal with. I would say those are some of the most important issues. Listen, the post-COVID economic situation is a crisis
Yeah.
for the region and for our individual countries.
Yeah.
And we have got to take common positions and articulate in the international fora where we go with those issues. Same thing applies to the whole question, for example, of how do we deal with the upcoming meeting of the Summit of the Americas, where we will have an engagement with the Americans and we will have an engagement with all the countries of the hemisphere. We have, which is in June, we have the heads of government meeting of the Commonwealth, which takes place at the end of June. A new Secretary General has to be elected, and there are issues. The Commonwealth is a wider grouping. As you know, it's 53 countries. How do we take common positions there on climate change, on financing for development? How do we take positions on COVID? The last time I checked, the vaccination rate, the average in sub-Saharan Africa, was between 12 and 13%.
Pretty low still.
Not because they don't want the vaccines, but lack of access.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
There are many African countries that are part of the Commonwealth, and so we have to articulate those things. So it's an extremely heavy agenda.
It's definitely
That
I'm just
meeting,
going to say, how long is this meeting
it's
supposed
2
to
days.
first and second.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
2 days.
in
It's
my
a lot
mind,
to discuss.
And then, of course,
say,
preparation for the S.I.C.A CARICOM Summit on the 3rd of March.
Yeah. Would the objectives or topics discussed at S.I.C.A be similar?
There will be very similar topics, because what Belize is trying to do is to use the cliche, the bridge between CARICOM and Central America, to find common positions on these issues, so that instead of just CARICOM countries, we have CARICOM and Central America saying the same thing as much as is possible as we articulate these issues in the
Yeah.
run-up, for example, to the Summit of the Americas in June, the United Nations in September.
Yeah.
We need to have common positions.
So in that light about Belize having this amazing position of being like this hub between Central America and
Connector,
CARICOM, right? This connector. When will this be actualized and be like?
Well, the biggest thing I would say is, listen, we are working, talk about Belize. As you know, we're looking to deepen our trade relations with Guatemala. Minister Ma is currently in El Salvador, deepening agricultural exports to El Salvador. And we believe that we should move to a deeper trade arrangement with Central America. We also believe that because of the CARICOM Treaty and the ability for you to export to CARICOM duty-free, that we should attract investments from Central America, have it here so that they don't only think of Belize, they think of the CARICOM market.
Okay.
So, for example, you know that there is a cement company out west that is Guatemalan-based that is here, that ultimately wants to deal with the Belize market and then the CARICOM market. And so we would like to encourage more of that. I think, so trade, we then have to move to the question of the movement of people.
Yeah.
How do people come across? At the moment, you know, visas are not required. We have to manage the question of permanent migration, people moving and staying, which is a different topic and a more complex topic. But once we are able to have people moving freely, then we need transportation.
Yeah.
We need ships to carry goods. We need planes to carry people between the islands, between the territories of Central America and the Caribbean. One of the issues I forgot to mention that will be dealt with at CARICOM is the question of removing roaming charges in CARICOM.
Yeah.
Prime Minister Mitchell from Grenada is very strong on that, and that is very big on the agenda. The reason I bring it up is the connectedness, that if we remove the roaming, people talk a lot more, you can do business more efficiently. Of course, WhatsApp is in effect dealing with that, but still, the roaming charges is something that they're moving to eliminate.
Minister,
Definitely.
sorry.
Go ahead, Ren.
Minister, in regards to CARICOM, I know I've met many people that look at Belize because there's some people that, because of Belize's position, as much as we want to consider ourselves a connector and think that, you know, we're part of Central America, we're part of also the Caribbean, but when it comes to trading sometimes, for us to reach places like Jamaica, any place in general with the Caribbean, it's much more expensive for us to do it. Is there anything that we look at when it comes to our tariffs, anything to help our business? Because it's good to have trade coming in, right? But sometimes it's really hard to take out our goods.
Yeah, but remember now, the whole Caribbean single market and economy, one of the fundamental pillars is what we call a common external tariff. So visualize CARICOM and visualize a tariff, a tax being circled. So it's a common external tariff. Within CARICOM, the goods will move free of duty. Once it's coming from outside and it hits that tariff, there's a tariff anywhere from 5% up to 70, 80, 90, 100%. The purpose being to make, by definition, goods from outside more expensive than goods that we produce within the region and can share. So it is designed to encourage intra-regional trade. The point that you make is the question primarily of transportation.
Yeah.
Moving people around the region, moving goods around the region. There are certain costs, minimum costs. And unless you are producing goods, producing services of a sufficient standard and price, that when you add that transportation cost, it still remains competitive, then it's a challenge.
Yeah.
Right.
But then people go and buy outside, and that's why we keep the common external tariff to try to encourage production. Right. Hence, I was making the point why we need to attract people from Central America, people from Mexico to invest here, to build up our production capacity, make the goods less expensive, and therefore, when you add the transportation costs, we can have some competitively priced goods for trade within CARICOM. There is a lot of trade that is taking place within CARICOM. We would like to do more.
Yeah.
Similarly, they would like to do more with us. So there's a transportation committee in CARICOM looking at this on a regular basis on how to change the lines, but it's a private sector.
Okay.
Yeah.
Minister, I wanna go take back the conversation to the CARICOM meeting and the S.I.C.A meeting, because I can definitely see how this is of much value to the region, both CARICOM and Central America. I want to talk about the persons that are attending this meeting. In your opinion, who are formidable and notable persons that are going to be attending? I am aware that one of the persons that's attending the S.I.C.A meeting is the UN Secretary General. What is the value of his attendance in this meeting?
And and also just to add to that, why did he believe that Belize is a place to come to as well?
Because we invited him.
I love
Because
I know, but like,
I love that.
because since November 2020, we have rebuilt the name of Belize in the international community. We have lifted up the reputation of Belize as an actor on the regional and international stage. And I think we have brought a lot of credibility. Prime Minister Briceño met with the Secretary General last September, I believe it was, last June in New York, right? And had a 45-minute exchange with him. One of the things was to invite him to come to Belize. To answer your question more directly, if you look at the United Nations website and look at the speeches of the Secretary General, he is one of the strongest advocates for a new, more equitable, more just, socially, environmentally, politically just international order. And he understands that CARICOM is 15 countries, Central America with the Dominican Republic and Panama. You have an additional 8 coming together. It's a sub-region in the Americas. And he understands that that is a forum where there are a lot of countries that have, okay, we're not superpowers, but we have influence.
yes.
We come together, we have influence. And I think that the topics that we intend to discuss, COVID, access to financing, question of climate change, are all issues that are prominent on the international agenda. He has a message and he wants to hear from us. To be more specific, one of the things that we said to the UN Secretary General is we want to take you to Monkey River
Okay.
to see climate change and the effect of climate change. We want to fly you over the Chiquibo to show you how the degradation of our forests, what is happening, and the effect it has on the watershed. Take him to the Climate Change Center, the 5 Cs of CARICOM, to show him all that work so that he can see that we in this region, we're doing our part, but we are the ones suffering the most. One of the things we wanted to do was to take him out to see a coral reef that is affected by the rise in the temperature of the sea level. His schedule is tight, so we can't do that, but we are being able to show him other things that the effects are real. We are living climate change. So I think that it provides a unique opportunity for the region to engage with this international statesman. It provides an opportunity for Belize to show him specifically that when he gives a speech, he can refer to, I went to Monkey River and I saw the erosion. I went to the Chiquibo and I saw what is happening and how it affects the rainfall, how it changed, the weather patterns are changing. So it's an opportunity for us to give him, to make real climate change and to engage with heads of government. Of course, I know everybody, well, a lot of people are asking, and Prime Minister Mia Mottley will be with us. And I know that a lot of people are excited. Yes,
Yes. Oh, yeah.
are excited for that. But as well, we have very important other leaders. The President of Guyana, President Ali, he is going to be leading in the discussion on food security. That is a matter in the whole COVID pandemic showed us the fragility that if borders are closed, can you survive? Do you have food security? And of course, Belize, Suriname, and Guyana are the big bread baskets. We have the agriculture, the land base to provide agricultural products for the community. And President Ali is pushing that very hard. We have the Prime Minister of Jamaica, who will be coming, Prime Minister Holness, Prime Minister of the Bahamas, recently elected, who will be here, Prime Minister of Grenada. Of course, we have President of Guatemala, who is going to come for the S.I.C.A summit, and and others. So it's going to be a very big lineup. It's a very big conference for us. I know my staff is stressed, overworked, but they are working day and night to make sure that Belize looks good. And I'm very, very thankful for the hard work they're putting in.
Well, so definitely we want to commend the work that your staff and the whole ministry is doing to ensure that everything goes well at this both important meetings. I'm sure it's going to go fantastic. I mean, you're going to be... It's an hamburger's key.
Well, you're
quite
really
a
wowed enough
representation.
people. So
Yeah.
I'm liking what I think I just have to commend you guys on is not just talking about the climate change issues, but showing people.
Yeah.
I think that's very key because everybody can go in a room and talk. It's very easy. But when you start to show people, I think they get to the stand of the awareness comes in on a different level. So I really appreciate that.
Well,
Yeah.
to make your point good, the result of the CARICOM S.I.C.A meeting is what we call a plan of action. So we take decisions, as you say, we talk, and then we have a plan of action, which calls for implementation. We will also have a San Pedro declaration, Hamburg's key declaration on these important issues so that people will be able to reference. In 2022, in February, we as a community declared A, B, C, and D. And the world will now know what is the common position of CARICOM, what is the common position of CARICOM and S.I.C.A on these issues. So there will be outcome documents which will show to the world the path that we believe the world should be on and the things that we will be articulating and advocating for the rest of 2022.
Yeah. Minister, we are promoting massively this meeting that's coming next week. And of course, our population would want to know what are the outcomes of this meeting? Where can they be able to follow up with the outcomes with the San Pedro Declaration, just to be informed about what all took place there?
Well, first of all, I think there'll be quite a bit of streaming while the meeting is taking place until it becomes private, but like the opening ceremony and so on and so forth. These outcome documents will be provided on the website of the ministry. They will surely be circulated to the press, but also on the CARICOM website, on the S.I.C.A website. And then, as I say, as we move from one international meeting to the next, this is going to be our Bible. As we move to do things on a regional basis, we have a plan of action that's agreed.
You have to be accountable for that too as well. Because a lot of times, like I said, we go to one of your issues in COP26 is going and seeing where the failures, because a lot of people looked at COP26 and saw it as a failure because we went there and there's a lot of people that they didn't want to push forward and they were not on the same page. And so we see these meetings and some people think, okay, what's going to happen thereafter? So I'm hoping to see the plan of action take place, implementation actually materialize, because that's what people are looking for, the changes, not just the talk, but the changes that come from it. So I commend again your team for all the hard work. I know it's not an easy job putting up these kind of meetings with all of these professionals in one room, making sure everything is
and in
perfect.
Time of COVID.
Yeah, in time of COVID.
Yes.
So they definitely have a lot on their plate. So commending all of them. I want to bring now the conversation in on Russia and Ukraine, because we've been talking about it on Couch Talk, and a lot of people have just been asking, that's Russia and Ukraine business, that's United States, that's their thing, but they're not understanding the magnitude of how it can trickle in and affect Belize. So since we don't have the time to go over the Russia situation, Ukraine situation directly, I want to ask in regards to gas prices, how can we look at this and see, in the case that Russia does invade Ukraine, there is a problem that arises there. How will it affect us when it comes to gas prices? Because people are already complaining gas pain. So how can they see it actually materialize now for our country?
Well, first of all, people should be complaining about the price of gas at the pump. It is too high, and government is actively looking at ways how we can ameliorate and attenuate that. It's not easy, because the point you're making is it doesn't take an invasion of Ukraine or any other country for the price of oil on the world market to go up.
Yeah.
The price of oil usually goes up, not necessarily because supply and demand alone, but sometimes because of instability, uncertainty about what's going to happen in the future. And a lot of oil is traded like other commodities in the future. And they look at this and say, wow, what is the likelihood that Russia will invade Ukraine? If Russia invades Ukraine, what is going to happen? Will any other country come in?
Yeah.
Will it turn out into be a war, etc.? And therefore they speculate. You know what? I better start buying more. And as we start to buy more in the future, the price goes up. So the price of oil is already going up as a result of the uncertainty that is happening in Ukraine and Russia.
Okay.
That is a direct effect on Belize. We are a price taker. We can't say to somebody who we're buying oil from, no, we're not going to buy it for $70 a barrel. We're offering you $68. He will just move on to the next person and sell it for $70. But more importantly, it also has an effect on the price of goods generally. Post-pandemic, in this recovery, one of the biggest issues we're dealing with is inflation.
Yes.
Every single Belizean who goes into a store will tell you that the cost of goods have increased.
Yes.
There are many reasons for that. Shortage of supply, interruption of the supply chain, the cost of shipping and freight has gone up dramatically, 400-fold. And that has a direct effect on the price of goods available to us. The situation in Ukraine and Russia is not helping.
No, it's not.
It is not helping. You saw Germany already announce that it has stopped the Nord Stream 2 gas line from Russia to Germany. You may ask yourself, well, so what? Well, that's a multi-billion-dollar investment. That multi-billion-dollar investment means there are many, many, many companies that are providing goods and services to that investment. So you have a company that, let's say, had a $50 million contract to provide some good or service to that. And Germany says, we have stopped it. But what do you do with that contract? You had already employed people, you had already ordered whatever goods and parts you need to make whatever you are delivering. So it has a domino effect of you have to call up your guy and say, listen, don't ship that thing to me. And he says, what the hell do you mean? You have ordered it. Well, Germany has stopped it. So he has to call up somebody or tell his employees, listen, we were supposed to provide this. We're
Like,
no
how do
longer
you know?
provided. I have to lay off 10%, 15%. So it has a ripple effect throughout the world economy.
Yeah.
And we suffer.
Yeah.
We therefore have to pay attention to it and we have to speak. On the 4th of February, Belize issued a statement
Right, I was gonna
calling,
ask about
yes, calling for restraint, calling for the resolution of issues diplomatically, and to ensure that there is no threat or the use of force. Unfortunately, things are not looking good.
Yeah.
And we are very, very, very concerned about it. And on the 13th of February, CARICOM issued a statement. I have been getting messages from foreign ministers in the region, Central America, and CARICOM about what are the next steps. Now, obviously, we can't do anything militarily, but there are many things that we need to think about.
Yeah. Minister, I wanna now. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I want to ask you, as we move on from the Russian-Ukraine topic to something that's happening the second week of March, which is the royal visit of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge.
Let me just make a point on the Russia-Ukraine
Yes,
thing,
please.
because I think it's important
Okay.
for our viewers and listeners to appreciate the effects. When you have a standoff between the United States and Europe and Russia, it not only affects that specific issue, whether or not Ukraine will be allowed to join NATO. It has ramifications for the positions that countries take in international arenas. So, for example, we referred to COP. It was significant as to which world leader went and which didn't go. They're sending a message.
Yeah, China
As
was
this-
not worrying.
Putin didn't go.
Yeah.
Russia didn't go either, yeah.
When this standoff and they take positions like that and they're not talking, it has ramifications for the positions they take in other international forums, in the IMF. We have been arguing for a reform where we have access to additional financing, that we have a different metric as to how you qualify. Now, if the big Europe and Russia are not talking and we need to build a consensus, it's that much more difficult to build a consensus on climate change because they are fighting over Ukraine. It is that much more difficult to build a consensus on COVID response because they are fighting over Ukraine, etc., etc. So the point I wanted to make before you left this is,
Sorry.
for small countries like Belize, CARICOM, Central America, the reason we have to come together in a conference like what we're going to have next week is to try to position ourselves and to say to these bigger countries, when you are fighting, we are suffering. And therefore, we have to strongly
important.
advocate
Yes.
for multilateralism, for settling these disputes peacefully, for having discussions, negotiations, however long they take, because of the consequences for us. It makes it that much more difficult for us to get consensus on issues that are totally divorced. But simply because of the hard line they have taken in that position, they don't want to agree on other less important, or to them, but more important to us, other issues like that. So it's complex and it has ramifications.
Definitely, I could see that, seeing this overall idea, invasion, uncertainty of invasion, we're having these meetings. So I think it's kind of the opportune time to actually have these meetings when this is happening right now. So
just
nothing
to build
else.
that consensus of
Exactly.
how do we move
Where do
forward
we stand?
with
Where
our
do we
position
stand?
there.
And
Very, very valid.
if at a later time, and of course, I'd ask that. I know you said you're talking with the other foreign ministers from the CARICOM. If you guys do have a standpoint and figure out, more or less how you're going to be moving forward with this, please let us know too as well, because we are on the ground wondering and thinking and seeing, where we're going to go from here.
Certainly.
Yes.
And so, under the line, Kevin was just saying that in the next 2 weeks, and I saw you smile about it too as well, the Duchess and Duke of Cambridge are going to be visiting Belize, because they're actually on a Caribbean tour. And so they're going to be stopping in the next 2 weeks. What are your thoughts on this visit? I actually know that they're very interested in climate change as well. So what do you think that this does for Belize to have them visit in? And do you think it's more just like, I'm just stopping in to stop in sick, just making sure that you guys are good? How do you think what does this visit translate into?
Yeah.
Well, I think the first thing is it once again shines a light on Belize, right? That type of publicity is invaluable.
Yeah.
You can't pay for it, right? They will be traveling with quite an entourage of media professionals who will be reporting from Belize, and I'm sure they won't be following their footsteps. They'll be going around Belize and looking at different things and saying, this is the place they came to. So we get tremendous publicity, and hopefully most of it will be good. The royal couple will be moving around Belize to different points. And as you say, focusing primarily on issues of climate change and the impact of climate change in Belize. They will also be doing some sightseeing in terms of, for example, our Mayan and indigenous people's heritage, and of course, meeting with the Governor General and Belizeans who, have been recognized by the Queen. The whole purpose of this is to celebrate the 70th anniversary of Her Majesty's reign, and therefore different members of the royal family are going to different countries in the Commonwealth, basically on a goodwill visit to say, listen, you all are members of the Commonwealth, the Queen is still your head of state, she is celebrating an incredible milestone, and we are here to say to you that, we're family, as members of the Commonwealth family. So for us, we are looking forward to welcoming them. Again, you can imagine how heavily stressed protocol is in terms of dealing with this, and then one following
they don't get a break.
immediately.
They really need a
security apparatus that has to be planning all the security. As you can imagine, that is going to be quite tight. And most of it, of course, is still embargoed, and so the details of exactly where they're going and when they will be, where they will be, is not going to be published until the very last minute. Again, another exciting thing. We're very happy. I believe this will be their first stop when they come to the Caribbean. I believe they're going to the Bahamas and to Jamaica. I'm not sure where else, but I believe Belize is the first stop.
All right.
Well, I love that they're Belizeing it.
One of the questions from our viewers is what's asked from Belizeans when they come in. Are we going to be like on the roadside with
do we bow?
Flags?
Do we bow?
Is there any such thing that's getting asked from the public?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Well,
just don't go hug them, I would say. Because, sometimes Belizeans might just, oh my gosh, Duchess! And then,
come take
don't do that.
With them.
Will you be, I know, because you mentioned, I see that you have a hand in trying to make the stay not only something comfortable, but allowing them to have that idea of being embraced in the culture, but knowing what's happening in Belize. Will you be having anything set up with them that they can be able to explore the parts of Belize that you're going to be doing for the UN Secretary? Like that, or no?
Yes, they will be moving around. They'll be moving around, seeing specific things. As I say, I can't go into the details for security reasons, but believe me, when they leave, they would have seen Belize and understand our different in cultures, our different foods, our diversity of our geography, diversity of our people. So they will get a good sense of Belize. It's not just coming and going to a resort and hanging out and then leaving.
We're spending most of their time in a hotel room.
I'm
or
sure
something like
they'll
that.
have an enjoyable and meaningful time in Belize.
Most
Well,
definitely.
we're working hard to make that happen.
Commending your staff for all the work that they're doing with
Yes.
these two
You need
major
to give them
events
a
that are
raise
happening.
or like a vacation
Yeah.
because they're
Minister Courtney, we thank you
I
so
will
much
tell the
for
Minister
being
of
with us
Finance.
here in our couch. It was great, and I hope this is not your first visit to Sun Up on 7. We look forward to having
I would
you.
prefer for have
your
Shine-
last visit.
I would prefer
I
for have
apologize.
Shine than me.
no, yes, we. Oh my
Wow.
god, no, let
No,
the
it-
Next
record
time,
be.
listen, invite Shine and I together. How about that?
I love
we can
it.
definitely
Yes, to a standoff. Minister Eamon Courtney versus Honorable Chamber. Like,
Oh wow.
who's going to win? Like,
It's the
you
first-
see how the screen is split? We're going to have your faces just like that too as well.
But Minister, thank you so much once more
My
for joining
pleasure.
us on our couch. And we
And
look forward
please
to
know
your
that
visit.
you even if it's a Zoom call that you want to get in some information, it's open and it's welcome because we
Yeah.
want to be able to be a part and know exactly
Right.
what's happening and let our viewers know and be
What
updated
would be
as
really
well.
opportune would be the outcomes of this meeting
Yes.
happening next week. So
Certainly.
as we ask, how can we inform our viewers what happened?
Yeah.
That would be a really good opportunity for that.
Look forward to it.
Thank you once more, Minister.
Thank you so much.
And so with that, we go to our next commercial break. When we're back, we're going to be speaking with Monique Vernon on the recent win for the Commonwealth Youth Award of 2022. So exciting news on the horizon. So we'll be right back.